Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to another edition of DIY Money.
DIY Money.
What's shaking, Howard?
Well, we are continuing in the money map, which we kicked off while you were gone last week, essentially looking ahead to see, okay, we know what pitfalls to avoid, but how do you actually achieve wealth? And so we were talking last week about Dave Ramsey, and we talk about that study often around the office, and just this idea that anyone can be a millionaire. So how do you do it? So today, I want to take a step back, and before we start on this, and this is going to be super cheesy, before we start on this journey, we need our money map.
As budgeteers, which, by the way, I still
budgeteers,
keep thinking about, which
we
is fantastic.
have to know where we're going. So we're going to kick off today just talking about how do you know where you're going? What should you be thinking about in your overall financial plan before you get the map out and you try to figure out how to get there? So, Quint, what say you about that?
Yeah, well, there's an old saying, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And that is so true in life, in finances, in fitness, in your family, in your marriage. I mean, intentionality is critical. So there's some babies, and I don't want to adopt all of Dave. It's like he took all the great phrases, right? Some baby steps. And there are some early DIY money steps that we've laid out that clearly make it so you know where you're going. Like step number 1, $1,000 fast cash, right? That's an easy step. That's the goal. I've got to have, and why do we do that? Because a variety of emergency expenses, can be taken care of under $1,000. And a lot of times what happened is Murphy's Law is once you start becoming financially disciplined, you're going to need new tires, or the HVAC is going to break and you're going to need somebody to come over and fix it. You're going to have a plumbing problem, etc. And so having that fast cash is critical. Step number 2 would be 3 months of emergency fund. So again, that's the goal, and having that in front of you. And I want to touch on this from two aspects, Allie. The first is, what are these goals? So we've laid out some basic ones that everybody can follow. $1,000 fast cash, 3 months emergency fund, paying off bad debt. Whether you want to attack then your mortgage or good debt thereafter is fine. And then I think a 10-10-80 plan makes a lot of sense for everybody, candidly. And if you don't know what that is, that's giving or tithing of the first 10%, saving 10%, living off 80% of your income. And as your income grows, then ultimately you can save more and you're putting more away from retirement. Then you have all the nuances of where to put this away and what to pay for, etc. So those are some very basic steps. But I want to touch on something that I think is so critical in this process, and that is having whatever goal it is that you are trying to achieve in front of you constantly. Now, there is this world of being able to blend, and I'm not going to get all wishy-wishy, washy, weird here, but of blending your subconscious with your actual actions so that you are constantly thinking about your goal. For example, if you want to have 3 months emergency fund, you should be able to do the math to be able to determine what your monthly margin is, right? So let's say it's $500 a month is your margin, your difference between your income and your outgo, and you know that it costs you $3,000 a month to live, right? So 3 months is $9,000, okay? So 9,000 divided by $500, right, is 18 months. It's going to take you 18 months to save the $9,000. Now, one of two things happens. Either you go, okay, well, in 18 months, I'm going to have my emergency fund. Or you're going to go, that's not soon enough. Like, I need it by January. Well, if you need it by January, the math is the math. That means you either cut more expenses to increase your margin, or you're going to have to increase your income. But whatever it is you do, you are going to define a goal with a date. Mm-hmm. And this is important. And I don't care. By the way, I still do this today for almost every goal that I set, whether it's financial, fitness, family, faith, makes no difference. All the 5S. I set my goal. I set a date that I want to achieve said goal by, and typically these are annual goals, unless it's something like, I got to drop 10 pounds by, next Tuesday or whatever, right? But the point is, I then write this down, and here's a critical step. I keep it in front of me. And if some of you have jumped in my car, and you will see an index card on my dashboard, and you'll be like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. You might think it's cheesy, but it's in front of me. And it's in front of me, and it might say something like, I will run a such and such a time by this date, or I will do this by this date. Why? Okay. Why? Number one, it's in front of you. But what you're doing is you're programming your subconscious so that when life happens and something occurs, you start thinking, your subconscious will go, no, wait a second. You're not going to do that because you're trying to achieve this goal. So we have a company outing coming up, right? Doing a little bowling, going out to dinner, right? I'm already thinking, sadly enough, I'm like, I have a goal. Like,
Gotta win that bowling?
And I'm definitely going to win the bowling. I mean, Logan's going to probably win the bowling, but I'll give him a run for his money. No, I'm back on the training wagon, and I'm back on the health wagon, and I'm trying to but I'm already thinking, because I've got these goals written out, like I've got a pre-plan for this. My point is that if your goal is $1,000 fast cash, 3-month emergency fund, or buy a house in 5 years, and I need $40,000 in an account, well then, right on the index card, it should say, by, January 1st, 2030, I will have $40,000 in my savings account. And that index card goes everywhere. And why does it go everywhere? Because when your friend calls you and goes, hey, I've got this trip. You want to take it? We're going down to Cabo for a weekend. It's going to be awesome. And it's only $2,500. And you're like, okay, $2,500. Well, wait a second. I will have in an account by January 1st, 2030, $40,000. That doesn't gel with your long-term goal. Unfortunately, no, I can't go on that trip. Having those goals in front of you. I know that's not exactly what you were asking, but every person's goals are different. But whether it's an early step in the DIY money process, or it's funding a retirement, it's retiring early, it's paying for a kid's college fund, it's buying a house, whatever it might be, those goals must be identified, articulated, and then put in front of you to program your subconscious so that you see them all the time. And by the way, you can do this for anything. You can do this for anything. Finances, you can do this for fitness, you can do this for, whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's a SMART goal. You've heard that acronym before? It has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Oh, I like that.
So it's
I had never heard that.
You can't just be like, I want to retire. Okay, when do you want to retire? How much will you have in your account when you retire? And it has to be all of those different acronyms.
I love it.
SMART goal. Anyway, so yes, you're exactly right. What I think is baffling about our clients is we build out financial plans for every client that we have. To some extent, it's like mandated to do business with us because we want to make sure if we're helping you meet your goals, we have to know what those goals are.
Yes.
And so we would be poor financial advisors in figuring out how to allocate your account, for example, if we don't know the other variables. Well, what are we allocating it for? Because if you want to retire and go to Cabo and drink margaritas on the beach or whatever, then that's going to change how we allocate your account versus if you're okay to stay at home on the front porch rocker and you want to read and sip tea. Like, those are very different goals. So we have to have those in writing, and they have to be measurable and attainable and realistic so that we can adjust other factors in your plan to do it. So what I think is interesting is we start this process, we give clients this questionnaire, like information packet that they're supposed to fill out and get back to us. And without fail, part of that sheet is, hey, what are your goals? And it blows my mind because we have so many clients who come in and they're getting close to retirement. They're like, okay, my goal is to retire. Okay, good. What else? Like, do you want a vacation? Do you need a new car? Do you want to fund your kids' college? And so we start to kick out these ideas, but very rarely do we get that back. And on paper, people have their goals as, I want a car and I want it in 2025 and I want it to be $40,000. And often they just say, car, ? College funding, ? Okay, you want to fund college. How much of college do you want to fund for your grandkids? Do you want to fund all of it? Do you want to give them $10,000 and what it grows to is what they get? So it's so interesting to me how few clients can put on paper what their goals are. But I'll tell you now, when we build out the plan, yes, we don't expect that client to know to a T the rest of their life everything they will want to do, but we try to push them to put some of those things in the plan because it makes a difference in retirement if you're going to do big trips with your family and you need a car and you need X, Y, and Z. And so often what you need to think about, whether you're at retirement and like, okay, that's the biggest goal, everyone wants to retire, or if you're my age and you're starting out your career and you're trying to get some of those baby steps or DIY money steps, whatever you want to call them, you have to know, okay, looking out, everyone wants to retire. Okay, that's the mountain we're looking at trying to get to. But you also have all these other landmarks that you want to see along the way. And if you're not building those in, you'll never get to the mountain the way that you want to. And so you have to learn how to take those goals of, I want a car, I want to go on this big trip when I graduate from college, I want to fill in the blank, and do the math. Back out. What does that mean practically from a month-to-month perspective? And what I do when I run some of these calculations is I start to see my values differently. So that trip that was a $1,000 trip, I get to see, okay, I want to go on a $1,000 trip, and it's in 10 months. I have to save $100 a month for that to happen. Am I willing to cut my eating out expenses by $100 a month for the next 10 months? And sometimes I look at that, I'm like, obviously that trip is amazing and I want to go to Banff, so I'm going to do it. And other times I look at it and say, yeah, no, I'd rather go get Mexican 3 times extra every month to make that goal reality. So that's where you have to start. You got to look out in the future. There's going to be obvious goals, but start to quantify the others, and you'll be so surprised how they might change and adjust as you realize practically what that means for your life to hit them.
And, I don't care where you are in the spectrum, because your goal could be right now, I'm going to track my expenses for 30 days.
Yeah.
Like we had somebody in the tribe just talking about wanting to kind of get off credit cards. And there's a discussion happening right now. By the way, if you're not part of the DIY Money Tribe, that's on Facebook, a closed group. Search for it. We'll let you in. We have dialogue and so forth, and we've kind of revamped that recently. But there was a discussion about a person saying, hey, I'm using my credit cards, and I'm paying them off, and he or she likes the security and maybe the convenience and the points, but made a comment that they don't feel like they're able to save as much. Well, when we drill that down a little bit, what the reality is, they're not being as disciplined by spending. They're probably not tracking every expense, whether it's credit card, check writing, ATM cash, or your debit card. You've got to track expenses. And if you're not tracking expenses, how are you going to know your margin? How are you going to know what you're able to save every month? How are you going to be able to know what your emergency fund needs to be if you don't know where your money is going? Again, you have to think about it like you're your own business. So right now, you could be listening to this and be like, gosh, I just need to track expenses. Then start tracking expenses. Like, start day one. And I don't care what you do. If you put it in a spiral notebook, if you put it in an app, you take a picture of it, you put your receipts in a Google Doc. I do not care. Start tracking expenses. The flip side of the spectrum is somebody who is, doing exceptionally well financially. They have more money coming in than they know what to do with, right? They are able to take the vacations. They're putting their money away, etc. But you've lost sight of those bigger financial goals. Like, do you know where your money is going? And do you know how much extra you could be saving for your future retirement, your charitable interests, whatever it might be? So goal set, it doesn't end. It never ends. We just started talking about prior to this podcast of where DIY money is going and what we're trying to do here for the future and how we're going to try to work with high schools and students and investors and so whether it's a business goal, a financial goal, a personal goal, a life goal, set the goals, know where you're going. And what is it? SMART? I loved it. Say
SMART.
It again.
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Like, I feel like I've missed that my entire life. Does everybody know that? And I did not know that.
I feel like it's a normal
I have learned something.
Acronym.
You and
there you
budgeteering. All right. That's great. We're going to end it there. Make sure you set those SMART goals. I love it. Remember, friends, the secret to wealth is pretty simple. Live on less than you make. Invest the rest and do so for a very long time. Make it a great one.